Hello again from Study English with me at English Mastery Hub. My name is Karen if you haven't met me before, and it's lovely to have you here with me today. Before we get started on the blog that we're going to look at today, I would encourage you to enroll on our website. There are some amazing features and tools that you can use if you enroll on the website, and it is absolutely free. So, what are you waiting for? Click the Get Started button, and then you can register on the website, and it will open up all sorts of different grammar exercises, quizzes, and games that you can play, and also a placement test down here at the bottom, and the IELTS and TOEFL exam preparations. Remember the placement test, I'm going to refer to it later. Be sure to watch to the end of the video. I have a very important tip regarding taking exams. So, for today, let's first just look a bit around our website before we go to our course. Here we have the courses that I've opened up, and you can see them here. We can also look at tips and tools. We have the facility where you can watch a video, any video of your choice, and expand your vocabulary. You can also go to a particular website that you're interested in, read on the website, including something like the BBC or CNN, where you can listen and read and expand your vocabulary. You may read PDFs or documents, and this will also expand your vocabulary. And then we have our British English pronunciation. We have TV and radio guide as well. So there are lots of different things that you can look at on our website. And then I want to also talk about my glossary. My glossary is found under courses. You can see you will come up with a study panel, and under the study panel is my glossary. We also have my stories, where you can write your own stories and have them assessed, and you can book and subscribe to lessons on our site. We are going to refer back to the glossary later during today's video. So, let's move right to the right-hand side of our website and look at a blog today called The History of Handshakes. There we have the title, The History of Handshakes and Other Greetings. Remember, watch to the end for the tip that I have for you today. Right, when we look at this article, it is at a B1 or B2 level, B1 to B2, and this article explores the rich history and cultural significance of handshakes and other greetings, from ancient gestures of peace to modern professional interactions. It highlights the evolution of these customs and their role in fostering trust and respect across cultures. Below that, we have an audio file of the article. Now, once you've registered on the website, you can come and listen to the audio, and you can read along at the same time. You can stop the audio, rewind, replay as many times as you like, and this will greatly help you improve your understanding of English listening and as well as English reading. So for today, I'm going to read it aloud. I want you to employ the technique called shadowing. If you were with us in the previous video, you are already familiar with that technique. If not, shadowing means that you silently mouth the words to yourself and read along as I read. This will help you with English pronunciation and will make it much easier for you in the future. So let us start. The history of handshakes and other greetings. Throughout history, human beings have used various forms of greetings to express warmth, respect, or friendship. One of the most iconic and universal gestures is the handshake. This seemingly simple gesture carries with it centuries of cultural and historical significance. However, handshakes are not the only form of greeting that have evolved over time. Different cultures around the world have developed unique ways of greeting one another, each rooted in tradition and social meaning. The origin of handshakes. The handshake dates back to ancient times, with the first recorded instance of its use appearing in the ancient Greek world. Historians believe the handshake originated as a gesture to show that neither person was carrying a weapon, symbolizing peace and trust. In fact, early depictions of handshakes show individuals grasping one another's hands in a manner that suggests mutual understanding and alliance. By the Middle Ages, handshakes were commonly used in Europe, especially among nobility. It became a sign of mutual respect, often employed in formal agreements or during political negotiations. The handshake custom spread widely across the Western world in the subsequent centuries, eventually becoming a standard form of greeting in various social and professional contexts. Other forms of greetings around the world. While handshakes are one of the most recognized greetings, many cultures boast their own unique ways of saying hello. In Japan, for example, bowing is an integral part of social etiquette. The depth of a bow can indicate the level of respect or formality in the interaction, from a casual bow to a deep, respectful bow for occasions involving elders or superiors. In the Middle East, a common greeting among men is the kiss on both cheeks. This greeting is a sign of warmth and familiarity and is seen as a way to strengthen social bonds. However, it is important to note that such physical greetings are generally reserved for close friends and family members. In some cultures in South Asia, a greeting known as the namaste involves pressing the palms together in front of the chest and bowing slightly. This gesture has both spiritual and social connotations, symbolizing respect and humility. The evolution of handshakes in modern times. The modern handshake has evolved into more than just a traditional greeting. In many professional settings, it serves as a way to establish rapport and build trust. For instance, business professionals often shake hands at the start of meetings or negotiations to signal their commitment to a positive and productive interaction. In these contexts, a firm handshake is seen as a sign of confidence and professionalism. During the COVID pandemic, however, the traditional handshake faced challenges. To prevent the spread of the virus, many people turned to alternative greetings, such as the elbow bump or a simple wave. These adaptations showed how quickly social customs could shift in response to global events, though the handshake remains a symbolic gesture of trust and mutual respect. In conclusion, the handshake, alongside other traditional greetings, represents the rich cultural fabric of human interaction. Whether it's the bowing of the Japanese or the clasp of hands in a handshake, these rituals have withstood the test of time, adapting to the changing needs and values of society. As our global community continues to evolve, the way we greet one another may change, but the core message of respect and goodwill will remain. Right, and we would love to hear your thoughts on this article. Join the conversation by leaving a comment or a question below. We will read every one and answer them in future video podcasts. Now, you will remember I mentioned the glossary. The glossary is a fantastic tool that we have available on our website. It is extremely versatile and it can help you expand your vocabulary. So, what I want you to do is go over this article again and highlight any words that you are not familiar with. I'm going to do so on my side and just show you how we can use the glossary. So the first word I'm going to look at is this word iconic. What do you think iconic means? So one click on it opens up our glossary, and I'm going to say here add to glossary the word iconic, and you will see the word has been added to my glossary. You may push play in order to hear how the word
Iconic.
it is pronounced. And in the top here, you can translate the word from English to whatever your home language is. Currently, I've got it highlighted as Italian, but if your home language is Spanish, French, German, Chinese, whatever it may be, you may translate this into your own language. So the word iconic we saw has been added to my glossary. So if I go to my glossary page and I scroll down, you will see that this is a list of the words that I have. On page 1, I am now stretching onto 2 pages, and technology,
technology, capsules,
capsules,
algorithm,
algorithm. So these are all there. Iconic will be added to this list as well. Going back to the article, so we've added iconic, universal gestures. Let's look at gestures. And gesture is a motion of the limbs or the body to indicate something. So we can see that is the meaning of the word gesture. And again, I'm going to add it to the glossary. What else can we see? Let's close the glossary for now. And what I'm doing now is skimming the text to find if there are any other words. What about unique? Have I got unique in my glossary? I'm not sure. So we're going to click on it. And it says this word is already in your glossary, so I don't have to add it again. Subsequent. Now I'm going to change the language back to English, from English to English. So subsequent is an adjective means following or in time, coming or being after something else. Growth was dampened by a softening of the global economy, but picked up in the subsequent years. So there we have the word subsequent. Okay, what else can we find that we want to add? Uh, Etiquette, that's a nice one. Etiquette. Etiquette we can add to our glossary. And if we scroll back to our glossary, we will see that those words have been added. So you get the idea. These are all words that you can add to your glossary. Namaste, I think, is a word that might not be there because it is a particular word that is known in Asian cultures. The handshake along with traditional greetings. So that is our blog for today. Now, I promised you a very important tip regarding exams. I have had many students writing to me and saying they wish to take the TOEFL exam, but their current level of English is at an A1 or A2 level. Now, you remember under the courses, I mentioned the placement test. It's a free placement test. You can take it and it will give you an indication of what your current level of English is. Now, please listen to this carefully. You cannot go ahead and register for the TOEFL exam if your English level is at an A1, an A2, or even a B1. The minimum level you need to be at in order to successfully pass the TOEFL exam is at a B2 or C1 level of English. This doesn't mean you have to just throw up your hands and give up. What this means is you first need to enroll, and I would encourage you to take lessons with one of our experienced mentors. You need to enroll in some general English lessons that cover listening, reading, speaking, writing, improving your grammar. When you do that and you get, after a couple of months, depending on how much time you put in to studying English, when you get to a B2 level of English, only then do you subscribe to the TOEFL subscription and start studying for the TOEFL exam. Why I say this is not to discourage you. The TOEFL academic exam is meant for students who are going to university in America, and generally these are students who already have a degree and they're going to do a doctorate or a master's in America. Your English level must be at a university English level to be able to pass this exam. Failure to comply with this means that you will just struggle and you will become demotivated. So please remember that going forward, and I hope this gives you some guidance about something that you may not have been aware of. And that's where I want to leave it for today. I'm going to finish today's session with a quote from the famous Canadian clinical psychologist Jordan Peterson, who said, "Success is not the opposite of failure." Or put another way, failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is the journey you go on in order to achieve success. So please, if you are struggling, don't give up. Continue little and often, and you will find that before you know it, you will achieve success. Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye bye for now.